So, welcome to this week's Optimal Health Clinic Facebook Live. And it's the last session, the last Facebook Live of 2018. And I thought a good topic would be surviving Christmas. Now, I realize that for some people, it may not be relevant at all, that Christmas is something that they're really looking forward to, and it's a kind of great time of year to connect with family, to kind of relax and restore and that kind of thing. But I also know that for a lot of people with ME, chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia, Christmas can be quite a challenging time in a few different ways. And it certainly was for me in the years that I was ill. And I also think it's worth saying that for a lot of people that don't have ME, chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia, that Christmas and New Year and that holiday season can be challenging. And it's challenging because we end up spending a lot of time with family. And for some people, I think quite a lot of people, there can be some complexity in terms of relationships and that side of things. Also, people, it can be challenging following nutrition programs. It can be challenging with kind of, you put everyone together, feed them too much, don't give them enough sleep, and give them alcohol. And funnily enough, some things go wrong sometimes. So kind of initially, I just wanted to normalize that if this period of the year is something that you find challenging, you are not alone. That lots of people with, not just with ME, chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia, can find the Christmas holiday period challenging and difficult. So it's almost like if we can take the pressure off, feeling like if you're not having a great time, that you're doing something wrong or something has gone wrong, it makes it easier to actually relax and enjoy the experience and the process. A couple of pointers though, particularly if you are stage 1 or stage kind of 2 of the recovery process, that it can be challenging also when you're either away visiting family or family are coming and staying, or you're isolated indeed from family, that you are expected to do more than you would normally do. Or you have a situation where people are not particularly understanding of why you are limited in your capacity, or why you are not eating certain things, or why you are eating certain things. So my kind of second tip is making sure that you communicate your needs. And this is a whole other topic that we've talked about in some different places, but it can be challenging sometimes to communicate what we need and why we need it. But if we don't do that, it's very hard for those around us that only see us once or twice a year to really understand what's happening. And with all the cultural misunderstandings and misconceptions around ME, chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia, it is kind of not surprising that kind of family come and think that it's just in someone's mind, or they think that you're just kind of being lazy, whatever the kind of narrative they have is. And it can be important to challenge that ahead of time. I've had patients where what they've done is sent an email out to people that are coming to Christmas beforehand, just setting some context and saying, this is my life at the moment. This is what I have to deal with. This is some of the things you might observe. This is why you might observe them. And just understanding that if we don't communicate our needs, it's then hard for those around us to understand our needs. And often people will form a whole set of narratives and stories about what's happening, which is often completely ill-informed and completely incorrect. If it's not possible to communicate your needs, the alternative solution to this is doing the best that you can to kind of separate off from other people's stories and perceptions, that they kind of help a part of us that feels the need to be seen and to be understood. That it's possible to have fun and to have contact and to have connection with people which see the world fundamentally different to us. In fact, I think in this current world of political kind of polarization, it's more important than ever that we can enjoy contact with people which may hold different perceptions and different values around the world. And so on one hand, it's true that communicating our needs and being seen is the optimum kind of way of doing it. If that isn't possible, it's also doing the best we can to separate people's kind of things that they say from how they really feel. Someone can be quite judgmental and quite incorrect in their perception, but still love us and care about us and want to be supportive of us. So as much as we can not take things personally, it's also a way sometimes to pick our battles and let things go and drop things and enjoy things the best that we can as well. My next piece of advice is to pace yourself through the process. That if you know that you have a capacity of, let's say, 2 or 3 hours of good activity a day, then it's worth planning the pieces of the kind of Christmas, New Year period which you most want to be able to do, and to not blow all of your capacity in the first day and then spend the rest of the period kind of crashed and trying to recover from it. So sometimes we have to be cruel to be kind to ourselves, which means being, again, this is a stage dependent thing, particularly if you're stage 1 into stage 2, you're going to have more delicacy in terms of your ability to kind of bounce boundaries and stretch the edges. But being sometimes ruthless with ourselves and saying, as much as you're having fun, you are going to stop at a certain point and go and rest, so you can enjoy and have the capacity to enjoy the activities the next day or whatever it may be. Or not going so crazy on Christmas and New Year, Christmas and Boxing Day, that then it gets to New Year and you end up that you're crashed out and you can't enjoy it. So just to back up, so normalizing that it is challenging, communicating your needs, pacing yourself through the season, but also, as much as you can, relax and have fun. So if any of the nutrition team at OHC are watching this video, you should close your ears now. But they probably actually would support me in saying that for the majority of people on a nutrition program, taking an 80-20 attitude can be appropriate. So if there are certain things that you never eat, but actually you know that if you eat them, you don't get an immediate flare of symptoms, and you're not on a specific protocol where it's been determined that you need to be absolutely rigid for that period of time, also give yourself a bit of a break. And if you want to have a bit of pudding, or you want to have, whatever it may be, have a glass of wine or champagne, or whatever it may be, or a few sips, that take as much as you can a measured approach to those decisions. So I'm absolutely not counteracting. If you've been given specific advice, you should follow that. But often what we can see is people can be taking an overly rigorous approach to certain things when there is a little bit of give, particularly if it's just for a couple of days over the Christmas period, that actually allows you to kind of reconnect to parts of yourself and have joy and have connection and have fun and kind of relax or whatever it may be, that can also be important and be helpful. And if you are stage 2 into stage 3, you may well find that you can bounce the boundaries a bit more over the Christmas period, even if you do have to spend a day or two kind of recovering in between. That there's also a place sometimes to and again, it's stage appropriate, but to drop all of those stories about what you think you should be doing, shouldn't be doing, and let yourself have fun and let yourself enjoy being with the people that you enjoy being with. So it's in a sense, really, I think the summary of what I'm saying here is approach the holiday season as strategically as you can. So if that means in advance communicating your needs to certain people, then doing that. If that means knowing that certain people are going to be challenging to deal with, then doing that. Handling that in that way, pace yourself, so strategically decide the things that you may or may not want to be doing, and to relax and have fun and enjoy yourself based upon the parameters of where you are. One extra piece that I'm going to add, which if you have a sensitivity towards crudeness or foul language, then I would recommend that you stop watching the video. I deliberately do these videos with a certain tone, but there's a a metaphorical technique that I want to offer, which I think can be very helpful with Christmas and New Year, but it has the potential to be offensive. So if you are easily offended, I would recommend that just stop the video and use what we said. So there's a technique that I came up with years ago when I was having particular struggles with certain people in my kind of wider family, certain people around me in other parts of my life, which would just kind of talk shit, like literally just talk shit at me. Either talking shit about their perceptions on what was happening to me, or that they would just feel the need to kind of rant, and be that a rant about certain views of the world that they have, be it a rant about the pain and suffering in their own life. But I would find that being around certain people would just be really draining. It was like they would talk shit at me, and then I would end up feeling shit afterwards. Or they would be feeling shit, they would talk shit, they would feel better, and then I would feel shit. So it was having a technique that would allow me to not be reactive, to not just like emotionally shut down, and not end up feeling kind of shit afterwards. And so the kind of I was studying NLP and such things at the time, so I was working with different ways of using the mind and visualizations, and the technique that I came up with was bringing out literally visualizing a bucket, and then if they were going into kind of one of these patterns of kind of ranting and talking, literally visualizing shit coming out of their mouth and going into the bucket, and making it a full-bodied experience. So like hearing the shit coming out, smelling the shit coming out, obviously visualizing, and just seeing them kind of purging this shit, like the feeling of being consumed by something toxic, and it's like the relief in them of getting that out. So I would be listening, I'd be open, I wouldn't be kind of like shut off or reacting, but they would be talking shit in that way. I'd be visualizing the bucket would fill up, and then after a while, it might be the bucket got full, I'd put it down, get another one, and they would kind of keep going, I'd hear it, I'd see it, and at the end, they would at some point, they'd finish kind of off, kind of dumping shit, put the bucket down, and would be able to kind of respond in a completely non-reactive way. Because what this visualization does is it allows your brain to recognize right now, there's toxicity that's coming out, that this person's offloading. It's kind of better they get it out, but it doesn't need to end up all over me. I don't need to react to it, take it on, end up feeling shit, feel the heaviness. But the more that you can make that a visualization, and you can just kind of see the shit coming out, it's better out than in, as people might say, and then put it down, and then just let it go. And what I found in doing that was they felt better, but I didn't feel that I'd taken all this stuff. And by your brain seeing the kind of context of what's happening, rather than responding to the content, like it takes away from hearing all the details and feeling your reaction to just going, right now, this person's talking shit, they're offloading shit, they're dumping shit, I'm holding space, they're filling the bucket, I'm putting the bucket down, they feel better, I don't need to be reactive to it. And it just seemed to really help in certain situations. Now, obviously, there's a place to misuse this, where someone's giving us feedback and there may be some grains of truth wrapped in with a load of toxicity, and actually it's helpful to hear the grains of truth. But other times, it's just a really helpful way of being around people that feel the need to offload, and not ending up feeling shit and taking on the shit afterwards. So feel free to try the technique. I'd love to hear how you get on. It's kind of one of those techniques that, as you know, our life evolves and we get more strategies and more tools, you might use it a bit less, but it's a bit of a crude and cold instrument, but it can be, I found it extremely helpful at certain points. So I hope that's been useful. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone that's been supporting the Optimal Health Clinic through 2018. And we have got some very exciting plans for 2019, which I am very excited about sharing, but now isn't quite the time. But I hope this year has been a year of progress and healing. And if it hasn't, I hope that next year we can be part of supporting you in that process. Thanks for watching. And we'll see you in 2019. Bye-bye for now.